fellow pen lovers and stationery enthusiasts, it's Christy here, a snarky Wordsworth over on Instagram and Reddit, and today we are going to be swatching my June currently inked pens. So I have sort of gone through and picked some, I think, really interesting colors for the summer months. I haven't used a couple of these before, so we shall see how well this goes over the course of June. But overall, I'm really excited to see what I can do with these colors in these pens and to see what kind of journal entries I make. But yeah, so without any further ado, let's get to the swatches. Okay, first up is Diamine's Bashful Blueberry from Cult Pens, and I have this inked up in my Pilot Falcon with the soft extra fine nib, and this one is the one that has that super cool beaky nib. I love this thing. It is one of my favorite pens. But yeah, I've never used Bashful Blueberry before, so we'll see how this month goes. Okay, so this is Diamine's Bashful Blueberry. I have not used this before, as I mentioned, and I absolutely think this is beautiful. I'm not even really a huge blue ink fan, but I think this falls in the sort of blue-purple vein that I really do love. And I do think it's going to be a lot of fun in my Pilot Falcon. So when I use my soft extra fine nib, it just gives it a little extra bounce, and I love that. And I do think that this will look really nice with just those slightly thickened down strokes that I usually will have with this particular pen, because it does have some really lovely shading in here, even with this soft extra fine. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing everything that comes from this particular pen ink combo. But yeah, if you're looking for sort of like a lighter kind of, I don't even know that I'd call it what I think of as normally like a blueberry color, but it is really quite a lovely sort of rich periwinkly kind of shade. So yeah, if that's what you're looking for, this might be the perfect ink for you. And speaking of not normally being a big blue ink person, I am using Milky Ocean from Troublemaker in my beloved Lamy 2000 in that stainless steel. This Lamy 2000 has an extra fine nib, but is a ridiculously wet extra fine. Troublemaker inks tend to write very, very dry. I think that this combo may be really perfect, but we shall see over the course of the month. Okay, so Troublemaker Milky Ocean is for me much more of a more traditional blue than I tend to use, but I was quite curious about the fact that it is a multi-shader. You can see that most within the swatch, and I think you'll see it even more once it dries down. But you do see traces of the multi-tonal ink in the actual text, and I do really like it. We're getting some shifting between a bit of a paler blue with a darker blue, but also some really cool pinks and purples. I'm not really sure why it's called Milky Ocean in that regard, because I don't really know that I think of pinks and purples with ocean colors, but I like it a whole lot. This was a really good ink for this pen, I think, because I don't feel any like dryness to the ink at all. And I know in a finer nib I probably would. I also like that the line output is not quite as broad as it usually is, or it doesn't feel that way anyhow. So I think this is going to be a really nice combo over the course of the month. Next up is another dry ink with Wet Writer. This is my new Pilot Nagasawa Decimo in that lovely Kaigan stone gray. This thing is beautiful, and I got it with the medium nib. I don't know that I've played around too much with the clicky medium nibs from Pilot, but man, this thing's ink output is crazy. So much so that I knew that I would probably prefer it with a drier ink. So I decided to pair Adventurine from Ferris Press with it. Adventurine is a gorgeous, gorgeous shimmer ink that is very, very, very dry, at least in my experience. So I think together this might balance out, but I do think the color combo as well will work really, really well, because I am one of those people who likes to kind of be a little bit matchy-matchy when I can. So hopefully this will be a winner for me. All right, and there is the Ferris Wheel Press Adventurine sample in my Pilot Nagasawa Decimo. I love the way this ink looks. I think it's really, really beautiful. I love that rose gold shimmer with the gray. I think it's super interesting. I just don't know if it's going to work. I don't know if I'm going to last with this one in this pen. So we start out with quite a bit of the shimmer flowing through, but as I wrote, it started to feel like it's already clogging the feed. I don't know. We shall see over the course of the month. By the end of the month, you may see a totally different ink in this pen. But for the beginning parts, I do really like it, and well, let's see how it goes. I'd been wanting to use Birmingham Pen Company's Burlap for a while, and I finally decided that I would give this particular combo a try. I should be using this gorgeous platinum celluloid 3776 more often, but it is quite a fine writer. Now, Burlap is a really light colored ink, but it does have a crazy good flow, so maybe these two will work out really well. I'm not sure, but we will see. So this is Birmingham Pen Company's Burlap, and it is not like any burlap that I'm familiar with, but it is lovely, and I'm totally here for this color. This one kind of reminds me of a richer, pinker White Rabbit from Wearingeul, or maybe a slightly paler, slightly pinker Kujangak from Colorverse, the Kingdom series. It's just really, really pretty and very, very legible. It is light, but I don't think it's so light that it is difficult to read whatsoever. I do think that this fine nib works really, really well with it. I think maybe an extra fine might be too fine as far as legibility goes, but not sure. You'll have to let me know if you try it. But I do think this is absolutely lovely. I'm curious as to if we'll see more of this shading as it dries down, or if you'd see a lot more of it in a broader nib, because I do see quite a bit of shading in the swatch. But you know how swatches are, you never can tell as far as what the ink is going to be like in actual day-to-day life writing, so who knows. Anyway, this one definitely a winner. Very excited to see how this one works out for me throughout the month. Next up is another ink from Birmingham Pen Company. This one is Mud Puddle. It is slightly warm, so I thought that might be a nice color for the warmer months here. And I'm pairing it with my trusty Kaweco Sport in the Macchiato colorway. This one has a Kirkspear custom nib in the Architect grind. I really, really enjoy writing in this particular pen, so hopefully I'll enjoy this combo. Okay, so that was Birmingham Pen Company's Mud Puddle in my Kaweco Sport. Also, it would be great if I could just learn how to spell macchiato correctly. Just once. There's only one T, by the by. Anyway, I do really like Mud Puddle. I think it's a lovely, lovely, slightly warmer brown shade from them. It is pretty basic in that there's not a huge amount of shading. There's a little tiny bit, but nothing crazy. It is really, really nice and wet, which I think is one of the kinds of characteristics that you want to look for when you're dealing with architect style nibs. And when I say that, I mean like the ones where the downstroke is narrow and the cross stroke is wide. I just have much better luck when I load those kinds of nibs with this kind of ink. It might just be me, so if you have very different feelings about that, feel free to express them in the comments. But yeah, in my opinion, I do think a wetter ink is better for this kind of nib. And it does work really, really well here. I had no problems with scratchiness, hard starts, anything like that. It's just really nice. It'll be a great, fun ink to play around with, and I'm looking forward to trying this one for the rest of the month. Okay, next up, I think this duo is going to be absolutely stunning. They're two of my brand new favorite items. This is an absolutely gorgeous ink from Dominant Industry. This is called The Harbor of Dieppe. It's gold with shimmer in it, and it is absolutely lovely. I am obsessed with it. And this beauty, this is my brand new Onslow from Walltown Pens. Brett did such a ridiculously good job with this. This is his in-house made blank. It's Paua Abalone. I think this thing is gorgeous. I was so excited when I asked if he happened to have any more of this blank in, because I hadn't seen him work with it in a while, and thankfully he did, and it is just flippin' gorgeous. Anyway, I actually swapped out the nib on this. He does amazing nibs. He does a really great job with them. But I also had a Franklin-Christoph Sig nib that I hadn't had a chance to try yet, and I popped that in here Brett's pens are all Yovo number 6 compatible if you want them to be, so I just did the quick swap. It's just a, twist and you're ready to go. And I think this is going to be a really, really amazing combination altogether. I never would have described myself as a yellow or gold ink fan, but man, do I love this shade. It is so, so beautiful. The swatch especially, where you get to see all of every characteristic going on there with the shimmer and the shade. It's just chef's kiss. But you can even see some of the shading, a lot of the shimmer going on, even in the writing sample here, and in a fine kind of cursive-y style italic nib at that. So, I think this is just a really, really nice ink. It's very well behaved. I didn't feel any problems with it. And granted, this is a really short writing sample, so we'll see as time goes on, but I am really, really thrilled to try this one out over the course of the month. So yeah, if you're looking for a yellow or gold toned ink for the summer and you happen to be okay with shimmer, because this does have a good amount of shimmer in it, make sure you check out Harbor of Dieppe from Dominant Industry. This one is absolutely lovely. I swear I did not intend to make this the month of dry inks in wet writing pens, but here is another duo. So this duo features Robert Oster's Tea Time. This is an absolutely stunning shader of a green ink. I love this, but in my experience, it is very dry. And I've paired it with my beloved Pelikan M400. This little lovely is the wettest writer I own right now. It is a gusher, and it makes it really hard for me to write a lot of times because I do tend to have very small handwriting. But when I pair it with the dry inks, it usually manages to balance itself out so that I can write with it. It is glassy smooth. It is a wonderful nib. I think my handwriting is just problematic for this kind of nib. I think if I maybe had it in an extra fine or even a fine, it would be a lot better. But hopefully this combo will balance everything and we'll be able to enjoy it over the course of the month. It's so funny how much my handwriting has to adjust for this particular pen, but I do really, really like it. This is Tea Time. I love this ink. I think it is so beautiful. I love that it's just this side of an olive, and it's just so, so pretty in my opinion. I love green inks, so I might be biased, but I do think it is a stunning, stunning shade of green. And it works really well with this pen. I really do like it. Like I said, I do adjust the way that I write. I think it's pretty clear my handwriting is normally not that large, but when I think about it, when I make the effort, I think this duo works phenomenally well. I'm curious as to how much I'll actually use it this month because, like I said, I don't normally write this way, but because I like the ink so much and because I like the way the resultant text comes out, I think I might make the effort, you know? So we shall see. If in any case, if you are a fan of green colors, this one is a really, really beautiful shade of green. Okay, the last duo of the month for me is another one that features a new to me ink. This one is Dominant Industries Maple. So when I did the swatch, I really, really liked this color. It was kind of a muted orange red, and that's definitely a shade family I absolutely adore. And I decided to ink up my TWSBI Vac Mini with it. I really enjoy this pen. I don't know why I don't use it more. I think I usually get sucked into my TWSBI stubs, and that's probably why. But their standard nibs are really wonderful in my experience. I've had really good luck with them, especially with shimmer inks and whatnot. This is just a standard ink, but I think it'll go quite well. Okay, so this is Dominant Industries Maple. Things to note, when it goes down, crazy vibrant, but it does seem to dry down to a slightly more muted tone that I do like. I'm not a huge, like, crazy bright ink fan, so definitely appreciate that sort of desaturation that it goes through. That said, it's super legible. It is a really well-behaved ink. It is not overly wet, not overly dry, works very well in this TWSBI Fine, and I think it's going to be a nice color that I'll gravitate towards when I'm in the mood for something a little bit punchy over the course of the month. Okay, I am going to let these dry down. I think I'll leave for about 10-15 minutes, and then when I come back, we will do some close-ups and final thoughts. Okay, it has been 10 minutes, and it looks like all of these inks are completely dried down. So remember that first one is that Diamine Bashful Blueberry. I've not used this one at all before, but I'm telling you, I really, really like this color. It sort of walks that line between blue and purple, a little bit more of a bluish periwinkle. I think this is absolutely gorgeous, and hopefully I'll be able to enjoy it all month long. Right below there is Troublemaker Milky Ocean. So this is marketed as a chromo shader. You can see a little bit of that purple creeping in with the blue in the actual text. It obviously shows up a little bit more in the swatch, but yeah, it's I don't know how much I'm in love with it, but it is a very pretty shade of blue, and I do like the purple leaning. And next up is Ferris Wheel Press's Adventurine. This is the one that I have the most doubts about. I love this color so much, and I want to love being able to use it. But I've yet to find a pen that really does a good job dealing with this particular ink. So this one's in my Pilot Nagasawa Decimo. Starts out just fine, but you could definitely feel the feed starting to clog by the end of just this short writing sample. So we'll see how things go during the month. Hopefully it will be okay, but if not, well, I guess we can always try again. Right below that is Birmingham Pen Company's Burlap. I am already in love with this color. I think it is absolutely lovely. Super, super pale, but also totally legible. I don't know how that works, but I think it's great. It definitely dries down a little less pink. It's more of like a peachy tone. It actually dried down, reminds me a lot of Kitsune Biore, but a little bit more wet and easy to write with. This worked really, really well in that platinum fine nib from that 3776. So I am very, very excited to be able to play around with this coming month. Then there is Birmingham Pen Company's Mud Puddle, just a really nice, slightly warmer kind of brown ink. This one, as I mentioned before, is in that Architect nib. I think they're a really good duo together, so I think this one will be a good one. Right below that, this is definitely so far my favorite duo. It's that Dominant Industry Harbor of Dieppe in my new Walltown Onslow. This is a gorgeous ink. You know, and the shimmer does show up. It's not showing up in this video clip, but it is throughout the writing sample. But yeah, I'm very, very excited to be able to play around with this duo. I'm loving it already. Right below that is the Robert Oster Tea Time. This is a gorgeous shade of green. I just really, really love it. I do think it's going to be interesting to see how much I reach for this pen because I do have to adjust my writing so much with it, but I love the color so much. I think I'm going to be willing to do so. So keep your eye out and see how I do with this particular pairing. And then finally, Dominant Industries Maple. It's just a really nice, fairly basic ink, I think, but with a really gorgeous color. And that one's in my TWSBI Vac Mini, which is just a regular fine. I am right now really gravitating towards these sort of muted red-orange colors. So I think this one's also going to be probably very much in my regular rotation for June. So yeah, that is it for my June currently inked. If you happen to have any questions about any of these colors or any of the pens, please feel free to pop those in the comments below. If you have any experiences with any of these inks, in particular Adventurine, I would love to hear your thoughts on it as well. I'm definitely still looking for the perfect pen combo for this one because I do really, really like this color so much. Yeah, so again, any thoughts, ideas, pop those in the comments. If this video was in any way useful, entertaining, interesting, whatever, please do consider hitting that like button or potentially even subscribing to the channel. As always, thank you so, so much for joining me. If you've made it to the end of this video, you are everything that is awesome. Once again, thanks for joining me, and hopefully I will see you next time. Bye-bye.